Imagine this. You are sitting alone in a quiet room. No notifications, no messages, no attention, no one checking on you, no one reaching out. In that silence, a hard truth rises, and for the first time, you realize something painful. You were never afraid of being alone. You were afraid of not being important to anyone. You were wondering if you mattered to anyone at all. That's the real fear most people carry. That is why people chase others. That is why they end up begging, clinging, accepting less than they deserve, and tolerating disrespect. Because deep inside they believe being alone means they are worthless. But Buddhism teaches the opposite. It teaches that solitude is where power is born, solitude is where peace is created, and solitude is where your strongest self is built. And when you finally learn how to be happy alone, your whole life changes. Because you stop needing people, you stop fearing abandonment, you stop chasing love, and you start carrying peace inside you like a crown. So today, in this video, we will explore the 7 most powerful Buddhist lessons on how to become happy alone without feeling empty, how to find happiness without depending on anyone, and by the end of this video, you will understand why being alone is not your weakness, it is your biggest power. Stay with me and let this quiet moment become a friendship with yourself. 1. Stop calling loneliness a problem, because solitude is a sacred training ground. Most people grow up believing that being alone is a sign that something is wrong with them. They think, if I am alone, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I'm not interesting enough for people to stay, or maybe I'm not lovable. That's why nobody chooses me. And this is why loneliness hurts so much, because it doesn't feel like silence. It feels like rejection. It feels like you are being left behind. It feels like the world is moving forward with everyone else, while you are stuck in one place, unwanted and unseen. But Buddhism teaches a completely different truth. It teaches that solitude is not proof that you are lacking something. It is proof that life is giving you a chance to become stronger, wiser, and more peaceful from the inside. Think about it like this. When you are always around people, your mind stays busy, your emotions stay distracted, and you don't get time to truly understand yourself. People become noise, conversations become escape, messages become comfort, and slowly, without noticing, you start using others to avoid your own feelings. You avoid your pain by talking to someone. You avoid your emptiness by staying busy. You avoid your overthinking by constantly searching for attention. And the moment you are alone, everything you are hiding from starts coming out. That is why solitude feels heavy at first, not because being alone is harmful, but because being alone is honest. It forces you to face your real emotions instead of running from them. And when you sit in silence, your mind begins to replay memories, regrets, fears, and painful moments. And you may start thinking, something is wrong with me. But the truth is, nothing is wrong with you. What is happening is that the part of you that has been ignored for so long is finally speaking. The sadness you feel is not your weakness. It is your heart asking for healing. The emptiness you feel is not your failure. It is your soul asking to be filled with self-love instead of people's approval. This is why Buddhism says suffering is not always an enemy. Sometimes suffering is a teacher, because it shows you what you need to repair inside yourself. Solitude becomes a sacred training ground because it teaches you how to stand on your own. It teaches you how to be calm without needing someone to comfort you. It teaches you how to enjoy your life without needing someone to entertain you. It teaches you how to feel complete without needing someone to choose you. And when you stop running away from being alone, you start discovering something powerful. You start discovering that your peace is not outside you. Your peace is inside you, waiting for you to claim it. So, instead of escaping back to people every time you feel empty, stay with yourself, sit with your emotions, and breathe through them. Learn to observe your thoughts without believing every negative story your mind creates, because the more you practice being alone, the less you fear it, and the less you fear it, the more powerful you become. Because the strongest person is not the one who always has people around them. The strongest person is the one who can sit alone in silence, look at their own heart honestly, and still feel full, still feel stable, still feel peaceful. 2. Detach from the addiction of being chosen, because that addiction creates suffering. Many people think they are suffering because they don't have enough love in their life. But the truth is, most people are not starving for love. They are starving to feel chosen. They want to feel like someone finally picked them, finally valued them, finally made them a priority, finally proved that they matter. And this is why it hurts so much when someone ignores you, replaces you, or treats you like an option, because it doesn't just feel like you lost a person, it feels like you lost your worth. It feels like the world is telling you, you were not enough. And that is one of the most painful mental traps the human heart can fall into. Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering, and one of the strongest attachments people carry is the attachment to being wanted, the attachment to attention, the attachment to being important in someone's eyes. Because when your mind becomes addicted to being chosen, your happiness becomes a reaction, not a decision. If they text you, your mood lifts. If they don't reply, your heart drops. If they give you love, you feel confident. If they pull away, you feel anxious and weak. And slowly, without noticing, you hand them the remote control to your emotions. One message can make you feel alive, and one silence can make you feel broken. That is not love. That is emotional dependence. And emotional dependence is a quiet prison. This addiction can even make you lose your self-respect, because when you fear being unchosen, you start tolerating things you should never accept. You start accepting disrespect just to keep someone close. You start over-giving, over-explaining, over-trying, and overthinking, all because deep inside you are afraid of being replaced. And the sad part is, the more you chase people to choose you, the more you forget to choose yourself. You forget your own value. You forget your own boundaries. You forget your own peace. You start living like your life's mission is to become enough for someone who is not even treating you right. But Buddhism teaches something powerful. Your worth is not something people can give you, and your value is not something people can take away from you. You are not valuable because someone wants you. You are valuable because you exist, because you are alive, because you have a soul, because you have the ability to grow, heal, and become stronger. And when you understand this deeply, you stop needing people to confirm you. You stop begging for proof. You stop trying to force love from the wrong hands. You stop looking for approval like it is oxygen. Detaching from the addiction of being chosen does not mean you become cold or heartless. It means you become free. It means you can still love people, but you don't lose yourself in the process. It means you can still care, but you don't destroy your peace to keep someone. It means you can still be kind, but you no longer beg for basic respect. And the moment you stop needing to be chosen, something powerful happens inside you. You stop feeling desperate. You stop feeling insecure. And you stop feeling like your happiness depends on someone else's attention, because now you understand the real truth. The greatest power is not being chosen by people. The greatest power is choosing yourself, even when nobody else does. 3. Understand that needing people creates fear, and fear destroys inner peace. Most people don't realize this, but the moment you need someone, you start suffering even before they leave. Because needing people is not love, it is attachment. And attachment always comes with fear. It starts silently. It starts innocently, like you just enjoy someone's presence. You feel safe when they are around. You feel calm when they reply. You feel happy when they give you attention, and you think it's normal. You think it's love. You think it's connection. But slowly, without noticing, your mind begins to tie your peace to that person. Your happiness becomes linked to their behavior. Your self-worth becomes linked to how they treat you. Your mood becomes linked to whether they choose you today or ignore you tomorrow. And this is where your freedom starts to disappear. Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from craving. Craving is when you want something so badly that your mind cannot relax without it. Craving is when you feel incomplete without something. Craving is when you believe your heart cannot breathe unless someone is there to hold it. And people crave others in so many ways. Some crave love, some crave validation, some crave attention, and some crave being needed. But the result is always the same. The mind becomes restless, the heart becomes dependent, and peace becomes fragile. Because the moment you need someone, you start fearing the future. You start fearing loss. You start fearing distance. You start fearing silence. You start reading every small change like a warning sign. If they reply late, you start overthinking. If they act cold, you start panicking. If they don't ask about you, you feel hurt. If they seem happy without you, you feel replaced. And even if nothing is truly happening, your mind will still create fear because your attachment will not allow you to feel safe. That is why needing someone is exhausting. It turns your mind into a battlefield. It turns your heart into a prisoner. And the worst part is, it doesn't only hurt when they leave. It hurts even when they stay, because you are constantly worried about the day they might not. You don't enjoy love peacefully. You obsess over it. You don't experience connection calmly. You cling to it. You don't feel secure. You feel anxious because deep inside you are thinking, please don't go, even if you never say it out loud. This is why Buddhism says attachment is the root of suffering, because attachment turns temporary things into permanent expectations. You start expecting people to stay the same forever. You start expecting feelings to remain forever. You start expecting loyalty to never change. And then when life does what life always does, when life changes, when people change, when hearts shift, you collapse. Not because you are weak, but because you built your happiness on something outside your control. And here is the truth that will open your eyes. You cannot control people. You cannot control what they feel. You cannot control how long they stay. You cannot control who they become. You cannot control whether they value you forever. You can try. You can beg. You can chase. You can overgive. You can sacrifice yourself. But even after all of that, they can still leave. And when you finally accept this reality, you stop living in fear because you stop trying to control what is uncontrollable. Needing people creates fear because it makes your mind think your survival depends on them. You feel like you cannot be okay without them. You feel like you cannot smile without them. You feel like your life will become empty without them. And that's why even the smallest distance feels like pain. Even a small silence starts to feel like danger. Even one cold moment feels like a disaster. But Buddhism teaches that nothing outside you should become your emotional lifeline, because anything outside you is temporary. The moment you understand this, you begin to shift. You begin to realize that love should not be a chain. Connection should not be a cage. Relationships should not be your oxygen. People should be a beautiful part of your life, not the center of your life. Because when someone becomes the center of your life, you lose your balance. And when they move, your whole world shakes. Now listen carefully, because this is where your real power begins. The moment you stop needing people, you stop fearing them. When you don't need anyone to feel complete, you stop being scared of losing them. When you don't need anyone to validate you, you stop being scared of being ignored. When you don't need anyone to save you, you stop being scared of being alone. Because now your peace belongs to you, not to their behavior. Now your happiness is something you carry, not something you borrow. This does not mean you become cold. This does not mean you reject love. This does not mean you push everyone away. Buddhism is not teaching you to isolate yourself. Buddhism is teaching you to love without attachment, to care without craving, to be connected without dependence, to enjoy people without making them your emotional foundation. And when you reach that level, something powerful happens. You love in a calm way. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop proving yourself. You stop overthinking every small change. You stop breaking your own heart by expecting people to fill what only self-awareness can heal. You become emotionally stable. You become mentally clear. You become peaceful, because you finally understand a truth that most people never learn. Peace does not come from people staying. Peace comes from you being okay, even if they don't. And once you master that, you are no longer controlled by attention. You are no longer broken by silence. You are no longer afraid of being replaced, because you have built a mind that knows how to stand alone without collapsing, and that is the highest form of strength. 4. Train your mind to sit in silence without breaking, because silence builds real power. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to be happy alone is not because they are actually lonely. It is because they cannot handle their own mind when nobody is around. When the room gets quiet, the world slows down, and there are no messages, no people, no noise, no distractions. That is when the mind becomes loud. Thoughts start rushing like a storm. Memories come back like a movie you didn't ask to watch. Regrets start whispering, "You should have done better." Fear starts shouting, "What if you end up alone forever?" Pain starts reminding you of what you lost, who left you, who hurt you, and what you still haven't healed from. And in that moment, you don't feel like you are just alone. You feel like you are trapped inside your own head. This is why so many people constantly keep themselves busy. They scroll, they watch videos, they keep talking, they keep staying around people, not because they love being social, but because they fear silence. They fear what silence will reveal. They fear what their mind will say. They fear the emotions that will rise when nobody is there to distract them. But Buddhism teaches something very deep here. The mind is like an untamed animal, and if you don't train it, it will control you. The mind will pull you into suffering even when life is calm, because suffering is not always created by reality. Suffering is created by the stories your mind keeps repeating. Buddhism teaches that your thoughts are not always truth. Your thoughts are often just habits. A habit of worrying, a habit of doubting yourself, a habit of replaying pain, a habit of expecting rejection, a habit of imagining the worst. And if you blindly believe every thought your mind produces, you will suffer even when nothing is happening. That is why silence is powerful, because silence gives you a chance to see your mind clearly. Silence shows you the patterns you've been living with. Silence shows you what you are attached to. Silence shows you what you fear. Silence shows you what you keep holding inside your heart. When you first start sitting in silence, it feels uncomfortable because your mind is not used to being watched. Your mind is used to running freely, like a wild horse, taking you wherever it wants. That's why the first stage of silence is not peaceful, it is chaotic. You sit down to rest, but your mind starts attacking you with 100 thoughts, and you think, "I can't do this." But that is exactly why you must do it, because the chaos is the proof that your mind needs training. This is where Buddhism introduces one of the most powerful practices: awareness. Awareness means you observe your thoughts without becoming them. You notice the thought, but you don't follow it. You see the emotion, but you don't drown in it. You feel sadness, but you don't panic. You feel anxiety, but you don't run. You feel emptiness, but you don't collapse. Instead, you sit with it calmly, like a wise person watching a storm outside the window, knowing it will pass. Because the truth is, emotions are not permanent. Anxiety rises and falls. Sadness comes and goes. Loneliness appears and disappears. Pain visits, and then it leaves. The only reason people suffer for so long is because they hold on to what is passing. They replay it, they feed it, they identify with it, and they start calling it their personality. They say, "I am a lonely person, I am a broken person, I am an unwanted person." When in reality, loneliness is just a temporary experience, not your identity. And when you train your mind to sit in silence without breaking, you build emotional strength. You build mental discipline. You build the ability to remain calm without needing someone to rescue you. You build the ability to stay steady without needing attention. You build the ability to handle your life without begging people to carry your emotions. Buddhism teaches that true peace does not come from controlling the outside world. True peace comes from mastering your inner world. Because you can't control who stays, you can't control who leaves. You can't control what people feel. You can't control what tomorrow brings. But you can control how you respond. You can control what you feed your mind. You can control what you focus on. You can control the meaning you give to your experiences. This is why silence builds real power, because silence trains you to respond instead of react. When someone ignores you, you don't fall apart. When someone leaves, you don't collapse. When life becomes uncertain, you don't panic. Because you have practiced being alone, and being alone no longer scares you. Silence becomes your home, not your enemy. And here is one of the most life-changing truths. The person who cannot sit alone cannot be free, because they will always be dependent on distractions, dependent on people, dependent on validation, dependent on attention, dependent on noise. But the person who can sit alone in silence and remain calm, that person becomes unstoppable, because now nothing outside them has the power to shake them. So, if you want to be happy alone, don't just try to feel better. Train your mind. Practice silence every day, even if it is for a few minutes. Sit with yourself without running. Breathe through the discomfort. Watch your thoughts like clouds passing in the sky. Let your emotions rise and fall without fighting them, because every time you do this, you are building a mind that cannot be controlled. And when your mind cannot be controlled, your happiness becomes unbreakable. Because now you are not happy only when people are around. You are happy because your peace lives inside you. And that is the strongest kind of happiness in the world. 5. Stop searching for love outside you and start becoming the love you keep begging for. Most people don't realize this, but one of the biggest reasons they suffer in relationships, friendships, and even family connections is because they are not truly searching for love. They are searching for rescue. They are searching for someone to fill the emptiness inside them, someone to carry their pain, someone to calm their anxiety, someone to make them feel important, someone to make them feel safe, and someone to prove that they matter. And because of this, they end up turning love into a desperate hunger. They start needing messages like oxygen. They start needing attention like medicine. They start needing someone's presence like a lifeline. And the moment that person becomes distant, busy, or uninterested, their whole inner world collapses. Buddhism teaches something very deep here. Love is beautiful, but attachment is dangerous. Love can heal you, but craving will destroy you. Love can bring peace, but needing someone to survive emotionally will create suffering. Because when you search for love outside you in a desperate way, you are not looking for connection anymore. You are looking for confirmation. You are looking for value. You are looking for proof that you are enough. And that kind of love will never feel stable because it is not coming from peace. It is coming from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being forgotten, fear of not being chosen, fear of being replaced, fear of feeling empty again. And the painful truth is, the more you search for love in people, the more power you give them over your emotions. You start living like your happiness is in their hands. You start waiting for them to text you, waiting for them to choose you, waiting for them to treat you like you matter. And if they don't, you feel like you are nothing. That is why so many people suffer, because they don't just want love. They want their self-worth to be delivered through someone else's actions. But Buddhism teaches that your worth is not something anyone can hand you. Your worth is something you must realize and protect from within. Think about how many times you gave someone your best, your loyalty, your time, your energy, your forgiveness, your attention, and your care. And yet you still felt empty. You still felt unseen. You still felt unappreciated. You still felt like you were not enough. And this is because no matter how much love someone gives you, if you don't love yourself, the heart will remain hungry. If you don't respect yourself, the soul will still feel small. If you don't value yourself, the mind will still feel insecure. People can give you affection, but they cannot permanently fix the way you see yourself. That work belongs to you. This is why Buddhism teaches that the root of your happiness must be inside you, not outside you. Because everything outside you is temporary. People change, feelings change, time changes, life changes. Sometimes someone loves you today and becomes cold tomorrow. Sometimes someone promises forever and disappears later. Sometimes people stay physically but leave emotionally. So if your happiness depends on outside love, you will always live with fear, because anything temporary can be taken away. So, what is the solution? The solution is not to stop loving people. The solution is to stop abandoning yourself. The solution is to stop begging people to treat you right and start treating yourself right first. Because when you become the love you keep begging for, you stop needing others to complete you. You stop feeling like you are half a person without attention. You stop feeling like you are worthless without validation. You stop chasing love like a starving soul, and you start living like a whole person. Becoming the love you keep begging for means you start giving yourself what you keep asking from the world. You start giving yourself patience when you mess up, instead of attacking yourself. You start giving yourself kindness when you feel low, instead of judging yourself. You start giving yourself support when you feel alone, instead of panicking. You start giving yourself time when you feel confused, instead of rushing into distractions. You start giving yourself respect by walking away from what drains you. You start giving yourself protection by cutting off what harms your peace. Because the truth is, if you don't know how to love yourself, you will keep choosing people who teach you pain. If you don't know how to value yourself, you will keep accepting less than you deserve. If you don't know how to fill your own heart, you will keep begging others to do it. And begging always leads to humiliation, disappointment, and emotional exhaustion. Buddhism teaches that freedom begins when you stop clinging, and clinging often happens when you don't feel complete inside yourself. And here is something very important to understand. Self-love is not arrogance. Self-love is not selfishness. Self-love is not thinking you are better than others. Self-love is simply refusing to treat yourself like you are worthless. It is refusing to abandon your dignity for someone who won't choose you. It is refusing to sacrifice your peace for temporary attention. It is refusing to stay in a place where your heart keeps bleeding. When you become the love you keep begging for, your energy changes. You stop chasing people who don't care. You stop forcing connections that don't flow naturally. You stop proving yourself to people who are blind to your value. You stop over-giving to people who only take. You stop explaining yourself to people who only misunderstand you, because now you finally feel full. Now you finally feel complete. Now you finally feel calm. Now you finally feel powerful. And once you reach that level, something beautiful happens. You still love people, but you love them from peace, not from desperation. You still care, but you care without attachment. You still connect, but you don't lose yourself. You enjoy people, but you do not become dependent on them. You can be with someone, but you don't fear losing them, because you know you will still be okay. You know your happiness will still exist. You know your life will still have meaning. You know your heart will still survive. That is real power. That is real freedom. That is real happiness. And this is why Buddhism teaches that the greatest love is not the love someone gives you. The greatest love is the love you build inside yourself, because that love becomes your foundation. And when your foundation is strong, no person's absence can destroy you. So stop searching for love like you are empty. Start becoming love like you are powerful, because once you become the love you need, you will never beg anyone again. You will never chase anyone again. You will never settle for less again. And the most beautiful part is, the moment you stop begging for love, life starts sending you the kind of love that respects you, because now you finally respect yourself. 6. Learn to let people leave without losing yourself, because everything is temporary. One of the hardest lessons in life is not learning how to love someone. The hardest lesson is learning how to let them go without losing yourself in the process. Because when people leave, it doesn't only hurt because they are gone, it hurts because you start questioning your worth. You start thinking, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? Why was I so easy to replace? Why did they stop caring? And the mind becomes cruel, the mind becomes loud, the mind becomes your enemy. And in that pain, many people don't just miss the person, they miss the version of themselves they were when that person was still there. They miss the hope, they miss the excitement, they miss the feeling of being chosen, and that is why letting go feels like dying inside. But Buddhism teaches something that can save you from this suffering, and that teaching is impermanence. Everything changes, everything moves, everything transforms, nothing stays the same forever. The seasons change, the sky changes, the body changes, the mind changes, and people change. Some people enter your life like a bright sunrise and then slowly become a fading sunset. Some people feel close one day and distant the next. Some people promise forever, but cannot even handle a few months of reality. And the reason we suffer so deeply is because we keep expecting permanent loyalty in a temporary world. Many people live with an illusion. They think, if I love them enough, they will stay. If I give them everything, they will never leave. If I sacrifice myself, they will finally value me. But Buddhism teaches that attachment makes you believe you can control life, and control is an illusion. You cannot control hearts. You cannot control feelings. You cannot control people's intentions. You cannot control who stays loyal. You cannot control who changes. And the moment you build your happiness on something you cannot control, you automatically create suffering. This is why letting people leave is so powerful, because it is not just about losing them, it is about understanding life. Life is like water. It flows. It moves. It never stays in one shape forever. And when you accept that, you stop trying to force what is naturally leaving. You stop begging people to stay. You stop chasing people who are walking away. You stop humiliating yourself just to keep someone close. Because you realize something very important. Anyone who is meant to stay will not require you to destroy yourself to keep them, but the mind will fight this truth. The mind will say, hold on tighter. The mind will say, try harder. The mind will say, don't let them go, Because the mind thinks attachment is safety. The mind thinks control is protection. The mind thinks if you cling enough, you won't be abandoned. But Buddhism teaches that clinging only creates pain, because clinging turns love into fear. It turns connection into anxiety. It turns your heart into a prison where you are constantly scared. And here is something you must understand deeply. When someone leaves, it is not always your punishment. Sometimes it is your protection. Sometimes what feels like rejection is actually redirection. Sometimes what feels like loss is actually life removing what would have destroyed you later. Because not everyone who is close to you is meant for you. Not everyone who says they care truly cares. Not everyone who stays near you has pure intentions. And sometimes the universe separates you from someone, because if you stayed connected, you would lose yourself completely. This is why Buddhism teaches detachment. Not because you should become cold, but because you should become wise. Detachment means you stop holding people like they are your life support. Detachment means you stop thinking someone's presence is the proof of your value. Detachment means you stop giving people the power to destroy your peace. Because the truth is, people can leave, but you should never leave yourself. People can change, but you should never lose your self-respect. People can forget you, but you should never forget your worth. Many people become broken when someone leaves because they tied their identity to that person. They tied their happiness to that relationship. They tied their confidence to that friendship. They tied their peace to that attention. So when the person leaves, it feels like life has ended. But Buddhism teaches that your identity should not be built on someone else's presence. Your identity must be built on awareness, inner stability, and self-respect. Letting people leave without losing yourself means you learn to separate love from attachment. You learn to say, I cared about you, but I don't need you. You learn to say, I loved you, but I will not destroy myself to keep you. You learn to say, I respected you, but I respect myself more. This is not ego. This is strength. This is spiritual maturity. This is emotional discipline. And yes, letting go hurts. Buddhism never denies that pain exists. Buddhism does not teach you to pretend you don't feel. Buddhism teaches you to feel without drowning. It teaches you to experience pain without building a home inside it. It teaches you to cry, but not to lose your direction. It teaches you to grieve, but not to beg, because there is a difference between missing someone and losing yourself. So, when someone leaves, don't instantly blame yourself. Don't instantly think you were worthless. Sometimes they left because they were not capable of the love you wanted. Sometimes they left because their heart was unstable. Sometimes they left because they wanted something easy and you required depth. Sometimes they left because they could not handle your growth. And sometimes they left because life had better plans for you. But the most powerful thing you can do is accept. Accept that everything is temporary. Accept that people are not meant to stay forever. Accept that the world changes. And when you accept, you stop fighting reality. Because fighting reality is suffering, but accepting reality is peace. When you learn to let people leave, you stop being afraid of being alone. You stop being afraid of losing someone. You stop being afraid of silence. Because you understand that the only person you truly need to carry through life is yourself. And when you become strong enough to stand alone, you become dangerous in the best way. Because now nobody can threaten you with leaving. Nobody can control you with distance, and nobody can break you with silence. This is why letting go is not weakness. Letting go is the highest form of strength, because it means you finally stop clinging to what is hurting you. It means you stop begging for what is not meant for you. It means you stop holding on to what is already leaving. And it means you finally choose peace over pain. So, if someone walks away, let them go. Not with hate, not with anger, not with revenge. Let them go with wisdom. Let them go with calm. Let them go with strength, because your peace is more valuable than any person who makes you feel small. And your life is too precious to waste on someone who cannot see your worth. Remember this: people leaving is not the end of you. People leaving is the beginning of you, because the moment they leave, you finally have the space to rebuild your heart, reclaim your self-respect, and become the strongest version of yourself. And that is what Buddhism calls freedom. 7. Turn being alone into your greatest advantage, because independence creates unbreakable strength. Now, listen carefully, because this is the moment where everything changes. This is not just another motivational idea. This is the truth that can completely transform the way you live, the way you think, and the way you carry yourself in this world. Most people are afraid of being alone because they believe being alone means being unloved. Being alone means being forgotten. Being alone means nobody cares, and being alone means you are losing in life. But Buddhism teaches something that most people never learn. Being alone is not a sign of weakness. Being alone is a sign of power when you know how to use it, because solitude is not where you lose yourself. Solitude is where you finally build yourself. Think about this deeply. The reason so many people stay trapped in toxic relationships, fake friendships, painful attachments, and constant emotional disappointment is not because they don't know the truth. They know the truth. They see the disrespect. They feel the pain. They notice the coldness. They recognize the manipulation, but they stay anyway. And why do they stay? Because they fear being alone. They fear silence. They fear their own thoughts. They fear emptiness. They fear the nights where nobody texts them. They fear the days where nobody checks on them. They fear the feeling of being invisible, so they accept pain as a trade for company. They accept disrespect as a trade for attention. They accept emotional starvation as a trade just to avoid being alone, and slowly, without noticing, they destroy their own self-respect to escape solitude. But the moment you become happy alone, you become dangerous in the best way, because now nobody can control you with their presence, and nobody can threaten you with their absence. Now nobody can trap you with attention, and nobody can punish you with silence. Now nobody can treat you like an option, because you are no longer desperate to be chosen. This is what independence does to the soul. It makes you free. Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering, but it also teaches that freedom is the root of peace. And freedom does not mean you hate people. Freedom does not mean you become cold. Freedom does not mean you isolate yourself forever. Freedom means you are no longer dependent. Freedom means your heart is not begging. Freedom means your mind is not shaking. Freedom means your peace stays steady even when life changes. And the strongest kind of freedom is emotional independence. Because emotional independence means you can be alone without feeling empty. You can be rejected without feeling worthless. You can be forgotten without losing your identity. And you can be hurt without becoming broken. Let me explain it in a simple way. Most people think happiness is something you receive, like a gift that comes from people, love, attention, success, money, friends, or relationships. They believe happiness is outside. They believe happiness is waiting for them somewhere. But Buddhism teaches that happiness is not something you chase. Happiness is something you create. Happiness is built inside you, like a fire that keeps burning, even when the world becomes cold. And if your happiness is dependent on other people's behavior, then your happiness will always be unstable, because people are unstable. People change. People get busy. People get selfish. People get distracted. People become different. And if your happiness depends on something unstable, your heart will never rest. So lesson 7, is about turning solitude into your greatest weapon, turning aloneness into advantage, turning silence into strength, turning your own company into your greatest power. Because when you master this, your life becomes completely different. You start moving in a way that people can feel. Your energy changes. Your confidence becomes natural. Your aura becomes calm. Your eyes become steady. Your presence becomes strong. And you no longer feel like you need to prove anything to anyone, because the greatest proof is your peace. Now let's talk about what happens when you truly become happy alone. First, you stop chasing. You stop begging for attention. You stop waiting for someone to reply. You stop checking your phone like your life depends on it. You stop overthinking every small thing people do. You stop asking yourself why they didn't text you, why they are acting cold, why you are not important anymore, because now you understand something powerful. If someone wants to be in your life, they will show it. If someone values you, they will respect you. If someone cares, they will not make you feel like you are nothing. And if they don't, you don't collapse. You don't panic. You don't beg. You simply accept it, and you move forward with your dignity. Second, you stop tolerating disrespect. This is one of the biggest benefits of being happy alone. When you are emotionally dependent, you accept anything. You accept late replies. You accept lies. You accept excuses. You accept being used. You accept being ignored. You accept being treated like a backup plan. You accept being taken for granted. But when you are happy alone, you stop accepting that. Not because you became arrogant, but because you finally realized your value. You finally realized that your peace is too expensive to be traded for cheap attention. You finally realized that loneliness is better than humiliation. You finally realized that solitude is better than fake company. You finally realized that being alone is better than being with people who make you feel alone inside. Third, you start building yourself quietly. This is where your real transformation begins. Because when you stop wasting your energy on people who don't deserve you, your energy returns to you. And when your energy returns to you, you become productive, you become focused, you become disciplined, you become consistent. You start working on your body, your mind, your habits, your goals, your future. You stop talking too much. You stop announcing your plans to people who don't support you. You stop explaining yourself to those who don't understand you. You simply build quietly, patiently, peacefully. This is why Buddhism respects silence. Because silence is where growth happens. A tree does not grow by shouting. A flower does not bloom by begging. The sun does not rise by explaining. Everything powerful happens quietly. Your healing happens quietly. Your growth happens quietly. Your strength happens quietly. And when you are alone, you finally have the space to rebuild without being disturbed by opinions, distractions, and unnecessary drama. Now, another powerful truth is this. When you become happy alone, you stop needing people to validate you, and that changes everything. Because needing validation is one of the biggest causes of suffering in the modern world. People post their lives to be seen. People seek attention to feel real. People chase approval to feel important. And when they don't receive it, they feel empty. But Buddhism teaches that validation is a trap, because the more you seek it, the more you suffer. The more you rely on it, the more dependent you become. The more you want people to clap for you, the more you become controlled by their opinions. But when you become happy alone, you stop caring too much about what people think. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places you don't belong. You stop changing yourself to be accepted by people who don't even understand your heart. You start living for truth, not for approval. You start living for peace, not for attention. You start living for your soul, not for people's opinions. And that is when you become unstoppable. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people. One person cannot be alone. They need constant messages. They need constant company. They need constant attention. And because of that, their life is full of noise, full of drama, full of emotional ups and downs. They are happy today because someone replied, and broken tomorrow because someone ignored. Their happiness is like a fragile glass, easy to break, easy to shatter, easy to steal. Now imagine the second person. This person is comfortable alone. They enjoy their own company. They don't fear silence. They don't fear nights alone. They don't fear people leaving. They don't fear being forgotten. Their happiness is stable. Their peace is deep. Their heart is calm. Even if someone leaves, they grieve, but they don't collapse. Even if someone ignores them, they feel it, but they don't beg. Even if life becomes difficult, they struggle, but they don't lose themselves. This person is powerful, and that power is not loud. It is quiet. It is steady. It is unshakable. And this is the kind of power Buddhism teaches. Now here is another truth. Being happy alone does not mean you will never feel pain again. It does not mean you will never feel lonely again. It does not mean your heart will never miss someone again. Buddhism is not teaching you to become emotionless. Buddhism teaches you to become aware. It teaches you to feel your emotions without being controlled by them. It teaches you to miss people without becoming desperate. It teaches you to love without clinging. It teaches you to care without losing yourself. Because the goal is not to remove emotion. The goal is to remove attachment. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to become free. The goal is not to hate people. The goal is to stop being dependent on them. And once you reach that level, you become a person who can love purely. Because your love is not coming from fear, it is coming from fullness. So how do you turn being alone into your greatest advantage? You start by changing your mindset. You stop calling alone time loneliness and start calling it freedom. You stop calling silence emptiness and start calling it peace. You stop calling solitude sadness and start calling it growth. Because the mind believes whatever you repeat, and if you keep repeating that being alone is a problem, you will always suffer. But if you start seeing being alone as power, your heart will relax. Then you begin using your alone time wisely. You stop wasting it on overthinking. You stop wasting it on stalking people's lives. You stop wasting it on memories that keep reopening wounds. You stop wasting it on wishing people were different. Instead, you use it to improve yourself. You use it to heal yourself. You use it to learn. You use it to reflect. You use it to develop discipline. You use it to build your future, because solitude is not a gap in your life. Solitude is a space to prepare your life. Another important part is learning to enjoy your own presence. Most people don't enjoy themselves because they are always judging themselves. They think they are boring. They think they are not enough. They think their life is not exciting, and that is why they seek people, because people distract them from self-hate. But Buddhism teaches compassion, and compassion starts with you. You must learn to be gentle with yourself. You must learn to forgive yourself. You must learn to treat yourself like someone you truly care for. Because if you don't love your own presence, you will always look for someone else's presence to escape from yourself. And once you start enjoying your own company, you stop begging for company. You stop clinging. You stop needing people to fill your time. You start feeling content with your own energy. You start feeling calm in your own silence. You start feeling safe inside your own mind. And that is one of the greatest achievements in life, because most people spend their whole lives trying to find happiness outside, when happiness was always waiting within. Now there is one more powerful truth. When you become happy alone, you become selective. You stop letting everyone enter your life. You stop allowing random people to control your emotions. You stop being available for anyone who wants your energy. You stop giving your heart to those who don't deserve it, because now you understand your peace is precious, your time is precious, your energy is precious. And you only give it to people who bring peace, not chaos. And this is why being happy alone improves your relationships too, because now you don't enter relationships from need. You enter from choice. You don't talk to people from desperation, you speak from peace. You don't stay with someone because you fear being alone. You stay because you truly respect them and enjoy them. You don't accept bad behavior because you need them. You walk away because you value yourself. And that is the difference between a weak connection and a strong one. So yes, being alone becomes your greatest power, because it becomes your foundation. It becomes the place where you rebuild your heart. It becomes the space where you stop begging. It becomes the moment where you finally choose yourself. And when you choose yourself, you stop living like a person who needs rescue, and you start living like a person who is unstoppable. Now, let me end this lesson with something you must remember deeply. In life, people will come and go. Attention will come and go. Love will come and go. Friends will come and go. But you will always remain with yourself. You are the one person you cannot escape. You are the one person who will stay with you in every season of life. So the greatest gift you can give yourself is learning to be at peace with yourself. Learning to enjoy your own company. Learning to stand alone without fear, because when you can stand alone, you become free. And when you become free, nothing can break you. You can lose anyone and still be okay. You can be rejected and still stay confident. You can be alone and still feel full, and that is the highest form of power. So, if you are alone today, don't see it as a weakness. See it as training. See it as preparation. See it as growth. Because solitude is not the end of your story. Solitude is the beginning of your transformation. This is where you stop needing people. This is where you stop chasing. This is where you stop begging. This is where you stop suffering. And when you finally master this, you will realize a truth that will stay with you forever. Being happy alone is not sadness. It is strength. Being happy alone is not emptiness. It is freedom. Being happy alone is not a loss. It is power. Because the moment you stop needing anyone, nobody can control you, nobody can break you, and nobody can steal your peace ever again. Make peace your identity, not just a mood, because real happiness is a daily practice. If you truly want to be happy alone without needing anyone, then listen carefully, because this final lesson is not just a lesson, it is the key that holds everything together. Many people think happiness is something that comes and goes, depending on what happens in life. They think happiness is a lucky feeling that appears when people treat them well, when life becomes easy, when things go their way, or when someone gives them love and attention. But Buddhism teaches something very different. It teaches that real happiness is not a mood, it is an identity, it is a way of living. It is a practice you build slowly, daily, and deeply until peace becomes your nature and calm becomes your home. Because the truth is, if your happiness is only a mood, then it will disappear quickly. One bad day will ruin it. One person's cold behavior will take it away. One disappointment will damage it. One rejection will shake it. And that means your happiness is fragile. That means your happiness is controlled. That means your happiness is borrowed. But when peace becomes your identity, your happiness becomes steady, because identity does not change every hour. Identity does not collapse every time life becomes difficult. Identity remains strong even when emotions rise and fall, and this is exactly what Buddhism teaches. Emotions are temporary, but awareness is lasting. Pain may visit, but awareness can stay calm. Loneliness may appear, but awareness can stay steady. Fear may rise, but awareness can stay steady. The problem for most people is not that they feel emotions. The problem is that they become their emotions. They feel sadness and say, "I am sad forever." They feel loneliness and say, "My life is empty." They feel anxiety and say, "I am weak." They feel rejection and say, "I am worthless." But Buddhism teaches that you are not your emotions. You are the one who observes them. You are the sky, not the storm. You are the ocean, not the wave. You are the awareness behind the experience, and that awareness is where real peace exists. So Lesson 8 is about learning how to become a person whose peace does not depend on people, whose calm does not depend on attention, whose happiness does not depend on being chosen, whose worth does not depend on validation. Because when you become that person, you stop living like you are waiting for life to give you permission to be happy. You start living like happiness is your decision, your responsibility, your discipline, and your power. Now, let's be honest, most people do not lose peace because life is hard. They lose peace because they keep fighting reality. They keep resisting what already happened. They keep begging for what already left. They keep replaying what already ended. They keep holding on to memories that cannot return. They keep wanting people to become different, even though people have already shown who they truly are. And Buddhism teaches that suffering grows when you fight the truth. Peace begins when you accept the truth. Acceptance is one of the strongest powers in Buddhism, because acceptance does not mean you agree with the pain. It means you stop wasting energy on denial. It means you stop wasting energy on asking why me. It means you stop wasting energy chasing what is not meant for you. Acceptance means you see life clearly, you see people clearly, you see yourself clearly. And when you see clearly, you stop drowning in illusions. If someone did you wrong, acceptance means you don't keep begging them to understand. If someone left, acceptance means you don't keep chasing closure. If someone replaced you, acceptance means you don't keep trying to prove your worth. Because your worth is not a debate, your value is not an argument, your peace is not something you negotiate. You accept what happened, you learn, you grow, and you move forward. That is power, that is peace, that is freedom. Now, to make peace your identity, you need a daily inner system, because peace is not built by one good quote. Peace is not built by one motivational video. Peace is built by daily awareness. Peace is built by discipline. Peace is built by repetition. Peace is built by choosing calm, even when your ego wants revenge. Peace is built by choosing silence, even when your emotions want to scream. Peace is built by choosing wisdom, even when your pain wants to react. Let me explain it clearly. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you water grows. If you water jealousy, jealousy grows. If you water anger, anger grows. If you water fear, fear grows. If you water attachment, attachment grows. And if you water peace, peace grows. But most people water pain every day without noticing. They water pain by stalking people who hurt them. They water pain by replaying old conversations. They water pain by imagining worst-case scenarios. They water pain by comparing themselves to others. They water pain by living inside their memories more than their present moment. And then they wonder why their heart feels heavy. Buddhism teaches mindfulness, and mindfulness is the art of returning to the present moment. Because the present moment is where peace lives, not in the past, not in the future, not in what you lost, not in what you fear. Peace is in now, in your breath, in your body, in your awareness, in the simple fact that you are alive. When you make peace your identity, you stop making people your emotional center. You stop revolving around their attention. You stop making their behavior the ruler of your mood. You stop letting their opinions decide your value, and instead you begin living from within. You begin living like your heart is your home. You begin living like your peace belongs to you. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is this. Stop asking, how can I make them stay? And start asking, how can I make myself stable? Stop asking, how can I get their attention? And start asking, how can I stop needing attention? Stop asking, how can I prove my worth? And start asking, why do I need to prove what is already true? This is the moment where your life changes, because now you are building inner strength instead of chasing outer approval. And here is the truth. If you want to be happy alone, you must learn how to be your own friend. Many people treat themselves like an enemy. They insult themselves when they fail. They shame themselves when they feel weak. They criticize themselves when they struggle. They speak to themselves in a way they would never use with someone they love. And Buddhism teaches compassion, and compassion begins with you. If you cannot be gentle with your own heart, you will always run to others for comfort. If you cannot support yourself, you will always need someone else to hold you. If you cannot love yourself, you will always beg others for love. So you must build a new relationship with yourself. You must learn how to sit with your emotions like a wise friend beside you, not judging you, not rushing you, not mocking you, but understanding you. You must learn how to say to yourself, I am healing, I am growing, I am becoming stronger, I am enough, I will be okay. This is not fake positivity. This is training your mind to become a safe place for your soul. Because when your mind becomes safe, you stop needing people to save you. When your heart becomes calm, you stop needing people to comfort you. When your inner world becomes peaceful, you stop chasing people to fix you. And that is real independence. Now, another important part of making peace your identity is learning how to protect your energy. Buddhism teaches that not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your heart. And when you are trying to be happy alone, you must be careful about the people you allow into your life, because some people are not company, they are chaos. Some people are not support, they are disturbance. Some people are not love, they are distraction. Some people are not friends, they are drains. You must understand this clearly. Your peace is your responsibility. And protecting your peace is not rude, it is wisdom. Saying no is not selfish, it is self-respect. Walking away is not weakness, it is strength. Being quiet is not fear, it is discipline. Not explaining yourself is not arrogance, it is maturity. Because when you explain yourself too much to the wrong people, you leak your energy. When you try too hard to be understood by those who don't care, you waste your life. So peace becomes your identity when you stop trying to win people over and start trying to win yourself back. It becomes your identity when you stop living for applause and start living for alignment. It becomes your identity when you stop chasing distractions and start building discipline. It becomes your identity when you stop seeking people to fill emptiness and start filling your own soul with meaning. Now, you might ask, how do I actually do this daily? Here is the simple truth. You build peace the same way you build strength in the gym, through repetition. You meditate even when you don't feel like it. You reflect even when your mind wants distraction. You stay calm even when your ego wants to react. You choose silence even when your emotions want to explode. You practice gratitude even when life feels heavy. You control your attention even when your mind wants to wander into fear. Because happiness alone is not just about being alone. Happiness alone is about being mentally stable. It is about being emotionally grounded. It is about being spiritually mature. It is about knowing that your life is bigger than one person, bigger than one relationship, bigger than one rejection, bigger than one loss. It is about realizing that peace is not something you find. Peace is something you build. And once you build it, nobody can steal it. So let me give you one more truth that will completely change the way you move in life. When peace becomes your identity, you stop trying to control people and you start controlling your mind. You stop trying to force love and you start building self-love. You stop trying to hold on to what is leaving and you start holding on to your dignity. You stop trying to be chosen and you start choosing yourself. And the moment you choose yourself, you become powerful. Because now you are not scared of being alone, you are proud of being free. You are not scared of silence, you are grateful for peace. You are not scared of losing people, you are grateful for clarity. You are not scared of being replaced because you know your value cannot be replaced. You are not scared of rejection because rejection is protection. You are not scared of endings because endings are new beginnings. So if you are alone right now, don't think life is against you. Life is shaping you. Life is strengthening you. Life is preparing you. This solitude is your classroom. This silence is your teacher. This time alone is your chance to grow into someone who cannot be broken. And when you walk into the world with that kind of peace, people will feel it. They will feel that you are not desperate. They will feel that you are not begging. They will feel that you are not chasing. They will feel that you are not weak. They will feel that you are not controlled by attention. And that energy will change everything. Because the moment you become happy alone, you stop accepting anything that harms your peace. You stop settling. You stop compromising your dignity. You stop lowering your standards. You stop begging for basic respect. You stop staying where you are not valued. You stop shrinking to fit into places that never appreciated your presence. You become the kind of person who walks away calmly, the kind of person who stays quiet instead of reacting, the kind of person who grows silently and surprises everyone later, the kind of person who doesn't need to prove anything because their life speaks for itself, the kind of person who has peace in their eyes and strength in their silence. And that is the highest level of happiness. So make peace your identity, not for people, not for attention, not for validation. Make peace your identity because your life deserves it, your heart deserves it, your mind deserves it, your future deserves it. Because when peace becomes who you are, happiness becomes your natural state. And in that state you can be alone without pain, alone without emptiness, alone without fear, alone without needing anyone, and that is the moment you become truly free. If you want the truth, the reason most people never become truly happy alone is not because they lack strength, it is because they keep waiting. They keep waiting for the right time. They keep waiting for the right feeling. They keep waiting for the pain to disappear first. They keep waiting for life to become easier. They keep waiting for someone to come back. They keep waiting for someone to apologize. They keep waiting for closure. They keep waiting for the day their heart magically feels light again. And because they keep waiting, they stay stuck. They stay emotionally dependent. They stay trapped in the same cycle of attachment, hope, disappointment, and suffering. Buddhism teaches something powerful here. The mind loves to delay healing, because healing requires courage, healing requires discipline, healing requires facing the truth. And the truth is sometimes painful. It is painful to accept that some people will never love you the way you deserve. It is painful to accept that some people only used you. It is painful to accept that you were never a priority to certain hearts. It is painful to accept that you gave too much to the wrong hands. It is painful to accept that you stayed in places that kept breaking you. But Buddhism teaches that pain is not the enemy, avoidance is the enemy. Because pain is temporary, but avoidance can turn temporary pain into lifelong suffering. So, lesson 9 is about one thing: choosing yourself now, not later, not when you feel ready, not when you feel confident, not when you feel healed, now. Because the truth is, you will never feel fully ready to let go of what you are attached to. You will never feel fully ready to stop craving attention. You will never feel fully ready to detach from the person who became your emotional habit. You will never feel fully ready to be alone if you keep waiting for comfort first. The comfort comes after the decision. The peace comes after the courage. The freedom comes after the discipline. Most people keep waiting for the feeling of strength, but strength is not a feeling. Strength is a choice. Happiness alone is not something that happens to you. It is something you build. It is something you practice. It is something you choose again and again until your heart becomes stable. And Buddhism teaches that the mind becomes what it repeats. If you keep repeating neediness, you become needy. If you keep repeating overthinking, you become anxious. If you keep repeating attachment, you become trapped. But if you repeat discipline, awareness, detachment, and self-respect, you become free. Now, let's talk about why people struggle to choose themselves. Many people think choosing yourself means being selfish. They think choosing yourself means you don't care about anyone. They think choosing yourself means you will be alone forever. They think choosing yourself means you will lose love. But Buddhism teaches that choosing yourself is not selfish, it is survival. Because if you don't choose yourself, you will keep abandoning yourself for people who don't value you. And when you abandon yourself, you lose the most important relationship of your life, the relationship with your own soul. Choosing yourself means you stop begging people to respect you and you start respecting yourself. Choosing yourself means you stop seeking attention and you start building your peace. Choosing yourself means you stop chasing people who are running from you and you start walking toward your own growth. Choosing yourself means you stop waiting to be loved properly and you start becoming the love you need. Choosing yourself means you stop giving your heart to people who only take, and you start giving your heart the protection it deserves. Because here is the truth. Nobody can love you in a way that replaces self-love. Nobody can save you in a way that replaces self-respect. Nobody can comfort you in a way that replaces inner peace. You can be surrounded by people and still feel empty if you don't know how to choose yourself. And you can be alone and still feel complete if you finally learn how to stand with yourself. Buddhism teaches that suffering is created in the mind, and one of the biggest mental traps is thinking you need someone else's presence to be okay. The mind creates the illusion that without them you will collapse. The mind creates the illusion that without attention you will feel worthless. The mind creates the illusion that without people, life will have no meaning. But these are not truths. These are attachments. These are cravings. These are habits, and habits can be changed. The moment you choose yourself, you break the cycle. You stop living like a person who is waiting for emotional permission. You stop living like a person who needs someone to feel alive. You stop living like a person who fears silence. You stop living like a person who runs back to pain just because it feels familiar. Because that is another deep truth. Many people don't stay attached because the relationship was good. They stay attached because the pain is familiar. They stay because their mind became addicted to emotional chaos. They stay because they fear the unknown more than the suffering they already know. They stay because being mistreated feels normal. They stay because they don't know who they are without that person. They stay not because they are in love with the person, but because they are in love with the hope. The hope that one day it will change. The hope that one day they will finally be chosen. The hope that one day they will finally be valued. The hope that one day things will return to how they were in the beginning. But Buddhism teaches that hope can become another form of attachment, and attachment, even in the form of hope, creates suffering. Because you are not living in the present truth, you are living in a fantasy future. You are not accepting what is, you are clinging to what you wish it was. So, choosing yourself means you wake up. You stop living inside fantasies. You stop living inside memories. You stop living inside wishes. You start living inside reality. And reality may hurt at first, but reality heals. Because truth heals, but illusion destroys. Now let's talk about what happens after you choose yourself. At first it will feel uncomfortable. It will feel strange. It will feel empty, because your mind has been trained to depend. Your mind has been trained to chase. Your mind has been trained to attach. So when you stop doing that, the mind will panic. The mind will say, go back. The mind will say, text them. The mind will say, check on them. The mind will say, you can't do this alone. The mind will say, you will regret it. And that is the moment where most people fail. They think discomfort means something is wrong. But discomfort is not wrong. Discomfort is healing. Discomfort is detox. Discomfort is your soul breaking an old addiction. Yes, attachment is like an addiction. It is an addiction to attention, an addiction to validation, an addiction to emotional highs and lows. And every addiction feels painful when you try to break it. At first, the mind will scream, the heart will crave, the body will feel restless, the nights will feel heavy. But if you stay consistent, if you stay disciplined, if you keep choosing yourself daily, the cravings will weaken, the mind will calm down, the heart will adjust, and slowly the peace will arrive. And when peace arrives, you will look back and realize I was never weak. I was only trapped in a habit. You will realize I was never worthless. I was just depending on the wrong people to confirm me. You will realize I was never unlovable. I was only abandoning myself. And that realization will change everything. Choosing yourself also means you stop asking people to give you what they don't have. Some people do not have emotional maturity. Some people do not have loyalty. Some people do not have kindness. Some people do not have depth. And when you demand these things from them, you will suffer because you are trying to pull water from an empty well. Buddhism teaches wisdom, and wisdom means you stop expecting fruit from a tree that never grew it. So you choose yourself by accepting people as they are, not as you want them to be. You choose yourself by letting go of expectations that keep breaking you. You choose yourself by walking away from emotional starvation. You choose yourself by protecting your peace before it is destroyed. You choose yourself by refusing to beg for what should be given freely. Now here is the most powerful part. The moment you choose yourself, your life begins to change in ways you never expected. Because now you stop wasting your energy on people who drain you, and you start using that energy to build yourself. Your mind becomes clearer, your decisions become stronger, your confidence becomes real, your self-respect becomes visible, your discipline becomes steady. You start improving your life in silence. You start growing quietly, and you become the kind of person people cannot manipulate anymore. When you choose yourself, you stop fearing being alone because you realize solitude is not empty. Solitude is full of possibility. Solitude is where you build your future. Solitude is where you heal your heart. Solitude is where you find your true purpose. Solitude is where you become emotionally strong. Solitude is where you discover what you actually want in life, not what people want you to want. Because many people are lost because they live for others. They live for approval. They live for attention. They live for being accepted. But Buddhism teaches that living for others is a dangerous path, because the moment people change their opinion, you lose your direction. But when you live for truth, when you live for peace, when you live for growth, you remain stable. Now, let me give you a simple picture. Imagine you are walking through life, holding a heavy bag, and inside that bag are people, memories, attachments, expectations, pain, and craving. Every day you carry it. Every day it drains you. Every day it slows you down. And you keep telling yourself, I can't drop it. But Buddhism teaches that the moment you drop the weight, you feel light. The moment you stop carrying what is not meant for you, your life becomes easier. The moment you stop holding on to people who don't hold on to you, your heart becomes peaceful. Choosing yourself is dropping the weight. And yes, at first, you will feel empty because you became used to the weight. You became used to the pain. You became used to the noise. You became used to the drama. But that emptiness is not loss. It is space. Space for healing, space for growth, space for clarity, space for the right people, space for the right life. So stop waiting to feel ready. You don't become ready and then choose yourself. You choose yourself and then you become ready. You choose yourself and then your mind becomes stronger. You choose yourself and then your heart becomes calmer. You choose yourself and then life opens new doors. This is why Buddhism teaches that transformation begins the moment you wake up, the moment you see clearly, the moment you stop lying to yourself, the moment you stop chasing what is hurting you, the moment you stop begging, the moment you stop needing. So today, choose yourself. Not because people are bad, not because love is useless. Choose yourself because your peace is more important than your attachment. Choose yourself because your life deserves stability. Choose yourself because your heart deserves freedom. Choose yourself because your future needs a stronger version of you. And once you do, you will realize something beautiful. Being alone is not scary when you finally become your own strength, your own comfort, your own home. That is real happiness. That is real power. That is real freedom. So now you understand the truth. Being happy alone is not a sad life. It is a powerful life. It is not loneliness. It is freedom. It is not emptiness. It is peace. Because the strongest person is not the one who is surrounded by people every day. The strongest person is the one who can sit alone in silence and still feel complete inside. Most people are not suffering because they don't have people. They are suffering because they keep begging people to fill a space that only self-love and awareness can heal. Buddhism teaches that your pain was never created by being alone. Your pain was created by attachment. Attachment to attention, attachment to being chosen, attachment to validation, attachment to people, staying forever in a world where everything changes. And the moment you finally accept that nothing outside you is permanent, you stop clinging, you stop chasing, you stop begging, and you start building a peace that no one can steal. You learn that solitude is not a punishment, it is a training ground. You learn that needing people creates fear, and fear destroys inner peace. You learn that silence is not your enemy, it is your teacher. You learn that the love you keep searching for must first be built inside you. You learn that people will leave and life will change, and everything is temporary, but you must never lose yourself. You learn that being alone is not weakness, it is an advantage because it gives you space to grow, heal, and become emotionally unbreakable. You learn that peace is not a mood, it is an identity you practice daily. And you learn that you don't need to feel ready to change your life. Your healing begins the moment you choose yourself. So from today, stop chasing people who don't choose you. Stop begging for love that comes with pain. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand your heart. Stop giving your energy to those who drain you and start choosing yourself with discipline, with dignity, and with calm strength. Because when you finally become happy alone, your entire life changes. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop fearing rejection. You stop feeling weak when people leave. And you stop living like your happiness is in someone else's hands. Remember this forever. You were not created to be a prisoner of attention. You were not created to live in fear of being alone. You were created to be free. Free in your mind. Free in your heart, free in your soul. And once you build a happiness that belongs only to you, Nobody can control you, nobody can break you, and nobody can steal your peace ever again. Solitude is not a punishment. In Buddhist wisdom, it is a doorway back to your own mind, your own breath, your own peace. Today, ask yourself these questions. 1. When I am alone, what thoughts disturb my peace, and what attachment are they coming from? 2. What parts of myself am I still waiting for someone else to complete? 3. How can I become a friend to my own mind instead of searching for comfort outside? If this message reached your heart, then stay with this channel, because we are building a mind that cannot be shaken, a heart that cannot be controlled, and a peace that cannot be stolen. And always remember, being happy alone is not your weakness. It is the moment you discover your biggest power.